And the guys, my freedom. Thanks the Lord. Bless us this morning. Help us to open ourselves. Everyone through. Yes. It's like what we do. Don't leave. I want to be
Now
last part of our meditation. Try to anchor ourselves in that inner silence, energies. Legalize carrying that lesson, sense of connection with the divine throughout the community. Peace.
We'll have affirmations for self-healing by Swami Nitai. We'll read about the self-healing affirmation inspiration. Then we will read the affirmation. First, we will do it loudly, then in normal voice, then whispering, then mentally at 50.50 IQs. And after that, we will pray. Inspiration. Inspiration is of two kinds. The rediscovery or reintegration of thoughts that already exist in the subconscious mind, and the sudden appearance of new thoughts or new insights from the superconscious. This higher inspiration certainly is more to be desired than the lower, for it is based in the truth and not in imagination. It is not always easy, however, to recognize the difference between lower and higher inspiration, particularly when the lower is vitalized by the emotions. When inspiration comes, receive it with calm love and see whether, untouched by emotion, its impulse grows stronger or weaker. Love is the water that nourishes through inspiration. Now we will do affirmation first loudly. I hold my thoughts up to the calmness within.
I hold my thoughts to the calmness within.
In calmness, I receive inspiration.
In calmness, I receive inspiration
From my higher self.
from my higher self.
In humbleness, I hold my thoughts up to the calmness within.
I hold my thoughts to the calmness within.
In calmness, I receive inspiration.
In calmness, I receive inspiration
From my higher self.
from my higher self.
Now, whisper. Deeply concentrating on the point between eyebrows, mentally affirm. I hold my thoughts up to the calmness within. In calmness, I receive inspiration from my eyes. Continue to gaze at the point between eyebrows. Mentally say this prayer at the point between eyebrows. O Spirit, thou art all truth. In thee lies the solution to my every need. Inspire me now, Lord. Show me which path to follow of many that lie before me.
This reading is from Rays of the Divine Light by Swami Nitai. Who are true seekers? Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. Jesus Christ said in chapter 10 of the Gospel of St. John, all that ever came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. Many Christians, not surprisingly, hold this saying in condemnation of other spiritual teachers. Not only the Old Testament prophets, but also Buddha, Krishna, and others who lived before Jesus, as well as binders, any who came after him. Yet Jesus himself said in St. Matthew chapter 5, think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill it. Nowhere do we find Jesus condemning or even gently criticizing other spiritual masters. His criticisms were reserved for worldly attitudes and for those hypocritical Pharisees who had allowed religion to become for them a pretense. But Nitai explained that the expression all that ever came before me referred to those spiritual teachings who place their egos and their self-importance ahead of the Christ consciousness, in the sense of drawing people's devotion to themselves and not of forget where alone it truly belongs, to God. Yogananda himself was very firm in this regard. For example, he never spoke of anyone as his disciple. Instead, he always insisted, they are God's disciples. God is the Guru, not I. Ego is a way station on the soul's journey towards enlightenment. The soul is first trapped in lower bodily forms. Slowly it evolves to the human level, at which point self-consciousness appears. Only in human form can self-consciousness transcend material form altogether, including the lower identity of ego consciousness, and discover the true divine self within. Self-consciousness, manifested as ego, is an incentive to deliberate self-development. Later in the process of development, however, the ego becomes an obstruction. Inevitably, new spiritual aspirants do not emerge effortlessly from the vortex of ego consciousness. Desire must be offered up resolutely and even more wholeheartedly on the altar of infinity. It is a gradual process, and few even among those who seek to help others are free of ego. If, however, their motive in teaching is not to serve, but to be served, however, they deserve a severe reprimand as Jesus gave them. For their direction of development is no longer upward, but downward. In the name of giving up desires, they created new ones. As it says in Bhagavad Gita in 3rd chapter, desire obscures even the wisdom of the wise. Their relentless foe it is, a flame never quenched. Intellect, mind, and senses. These combine and refer towards the seat of desire. Desire through them includes and eclipses a discrimination of embodied soul. O Arjuna, discipline your senses, and having done so, work to destroy desire, a mediator of wisdom and of self-realization. Give God the credit for everything you do. See Him as the true world. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind.
So, good morning. My topic this morning is the journey from religion to spirituality. I would assume that most of us in this room on the internet have been born into a religion. My religion, of course, is Christianity. Born and happened to be born in the United States, in California. It's a good start, usually, for children to have some kind of a religion to learn about. If you're in India, you get to learn about Krishna and Rama and all those wonderful stories. If you're in the West, you learn about Jesus, maybe Moses, and Abraham. They all have the same kind of lessons to learn. You don't see the Christian children being told how to be robbers and thieves. They're encouraged to be truthful and kind, and all of the same things that happen here. However, it's outward. It tends to be outward, unless you have very special parents. Maybe some of you did. But it tends to be that there's a set of outward activities, outward rituals, outward involvements that define what your religion is. I had my first run-in with that at a very early age. I think I was only 7 years old at the time. And I had been raised as a Catholic. I was attending a Catholic school. I had nuns for my teachers and priests to listen to on Sunday. But one of the things that I was learning about that is in the Catholic Church has something called mortal sin. And mortal sin is if you have committed this kind of a sin, it's a grievous offense against the divine. And it basically means that you're going to spend the rest of eternity in hell. It's a very crazy idea, but it's strangely enough, it was very common when I was growing up in the 40s and 50s. So one of the things that would get, it was called a mortal sin at that time, was missing Mass on Sunday. If you didn't come to church on Sunday, it was a mortal sin. That meant you were going to spend a long time paying for that sin. I didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but I didn't really think about it too much. But then I all of a sudden realized that my father, who I admired, he was a very good man, very, we would say, dharmic in this perspective. He always tried to do the right thing. He was not educated. He had a work job working for the railroad, and his job would take him off on these trips on the trains at odd hours. He didn't have a 9 to 5 job. He would be gone at 2 in the morning one time, 4 p.m. the next day, very erratic. And a lot of the time, sometimes, probably I'd say over half the time, on Saturday night, he would be working. He would have a job. He would get home maybe 3 in the morning, something like that. And he didn't go to Sunday service. And my little mind all of a sudden put these two things together. My father doesn't go to Sunday service. And if you don't go to Sunday service, you're going to go to hell. And it just didn't make any sense. It's like, how could somebody that good, that kind, be going to hell? That's the rules of this universe. I want out of here. I don't want to be part of it. And it was my first doubting of my religion, the way it was presented to me. I'm sure there are many other more inspiring ways to present Christianity to a young child, but that was my way. So it began my question. Interestingly enough, they changed the rule. About 10 or 15 years later, they decided, well, missing Mass really wasn't a mortal sin. And I thought, oh my God, how does that work into the cosmic scheme? But anyway, it encouraged me to set me up, actually. You start to think that, no, I think there's something else besides this our religion that is really has to be important. Didn't know what it was, didn't have a clue. But I did experience some of the guys listening to a talk by Swamiji this last week. He was talking about his early life. He said that he was drawn to beauty. And he said he would be in a garden and he would be looking at a flower. And he would say, how beautiful this flower is. And he said, I can't feel it. I can only look at it from the outside. I can see it as beautiful. I can watch the colors. I can look at the textures. I can look at all these different things. But there's something else deeper that I'm missing. And that was what I was feeling at that part of my life. That there's an inner dimension to experience that I needed to be shown. I needed to explore. And by the grace of God, I was drawn to it kind of inexorably, because I kept looking and saying, that's not it. Going through a whole series of experiences as a young person. And it was only when I was introduced to meditation that I started to see, oh, this is the direction. Now, at first I wasn't very good at it. I had a book, and I got a book called The 3 Pillars of Zen, and because it talked about meditation. I didn't know anything about Buddhism or Buddha or anything else, but they said, you sit up straight, calm your breath, focus it in the point between the eyebrows, and hold that attention. And so I was trying to do it, sitting up there trying to do it. And after a week, I put the book down and said, only thing that I can give you is a headache. It was just the tension of trying to hold my mind here was so strong. It didn't work. Wasn't my path. I'm sure it would obviously it worked for many other people. But maybe if they have a person teaching them in person would help too. But then I was planted a seed in my mind because I had a little bit of an experience then. And I thought there's potential here. There's potential to explore further. So a few years later in my life, I came across a lot of yoga. And at that point, I was right, I was ready. And what he described in that book just touched my heart on a very deep level. And I said, no, here's where I can develop the skill to practice these deeper teachings and to develop this inner part of my life. And that was the part where my experience of church or religion metamorphosized, that's a word, into what I would call spirituality. Spirituality is different. Often religions begin with spirituality. You look at, of course, obviously Jesus. And now at this point in my life, I look and I read the teaching of Jesus, and I'm just amazed, enthralled, and inspired. But what happened to those teachings is that they became kind of encrusted with an outer surface of ritual and dogmatism, judgment, all these different things that can happen in religion. But spirituality is different than that. Spirituality is very personal. It's very inward. It's something that each person has to discover for themselves. You can't go and like they used to in the Catholic Church, pay extra money and get an extra ticket into heaven. That was the start of Protestantism. Where you might not know your Western history, but Catholic Church got to the point where they were selling what they call indulgences. And if you had enough money, you paid for your ticket into heaven. And certain people like Martin Luther and other people revolted with that, righteously so. It was stupid. And Protestantism, flowered in the West. But it happens everywhere. It happens everywhere. That doing the outward aspects of it, they give you certain things. It can give you a little status in your society. That you have this particular, you've accomplished this particular ritual. You can do this particular ceremony well. People split up to you. Maybe you decide to take a vow to become a monk or a nun or a swami, and you put on certain kinds of clothes, and people start to bow to you, to show you and kind of must be pretty hot stuff. And of course, it's antithetical to spirituality. That's what in the reading, Swami says that when people do that, it is certain to be like Jesus did, very stern with the Pharisees. He was just showing them their hypocrisy and trying to get through to them. Some of them he did, some of them responded, most of them didn't. Of course, the ones that didn't band together and got crucified. But this whole idea that spirituality is something that comes from within. Well, it's interesting because it ties into a part. Many of you don't know. My name is Nitai, Nayaswami Nitai, and I'm here in India to help with education. Because we have an approach called Education for Life that I've been sharing in the couple of schools here in Gurgaon. Part of that is something called progressive development, which is a map of consciousness. It goes from heavy consciousness to ego-active consciousness to light consciousness. And the job of the teacher in the school is to help the children grow from heavy ego-active to light. Well, at those lower levels of consciousness, you need outward form. You need boundaries. You need rules. I was in the school classroom this last week. The children were, I think, 7 and 8 year olds. And there were 2 very naughty little boys. And every chance they got, they were going over, they were doing some mischief, they were making some sounds or something and running around the room, and they would hide under the desk. And the teacher was not watching them very closely. Her attention was other places, and every once in a while she would catch them and say, "Stop that, don't do that anymore." And she would go back. 3 seconds later, they were doing exactly what they'd been doing before. And they were not getting what they actually needed. It's very clear outward boundaries. I got to talk to her afterwards and I said, "You know what you have to do? You have to, first of all, pay attention to it, because they're destroying the whole class and getting all the other kids not to pay attention. So you're going to have to catch them in the eye and say, okay, now, and you're going to have to sit in this chair and you sit in this chair. And if you move, you're going to have to stay there the whole period. But if you sit there quietly, you can join the rest of us." And then I said, later on, she started to do some games. And I said, and then you tell them, "No, you can't do the games because you were misbehaving. You have to sit there until you learn how to behave." So it's very outward, it's very formal, it's not a whole lot of fun. But it's not what those boys needed, because we given freedom, given the freedom to do whatever they want to do, they would just create chaos for everybody else. They didn't have what they were missing, what they hadn't developed yet was an inner sense of what's right, but why you would do things, which is of course something you're trying to cultivate in education. Well, this outer form has a place in this planet, because there are many people on this planet that don't have an inner sense of what's right and wrong. Or at least they haven't learned how to listen to it, how to cultivate it. So if they don't have this outer form, they're going to create big problems in society. So there are religions that actually cater to that and say, okay, follow this rule. I think in the Jewish religion, I think there are 643 rules or something like that. That if you're what's the word, a fundamentalist Jew, you follow those. It tells you how to dress, how to wake up in the morning, what to eat, how to cook your food, go on and on and on. It's all outward, it's all formalized. It's to keep people in the straight level, straight approach. So it does have a place, but then what happens in the world or in creation, it's all about evolution. It's all about evolution of soul consciousness, soul awareness. And so you have souls on the planet who start to wake up. They start to realize that they have this inner sense of Dharma. They have this inner sense of right and wrong. And as they develop that, they need less and less of this outer form. And they can open up to just much more freedom in life, because they'll know what the right thing is. They'll know what the right thing to eat is. They'll know from inside, though, not from outside. They'll know how to behave, they'll know how to be kind, they'll know all these different things, but from the inside, not from the out. So I had this amazing experience in this lifetime. It's been about 50 years living in a community of people who had this inner awakening happen on different levels. These are the things that Paramahansa Yogananda wanted to start, especially in the West. We call them World Brotherhood colonies, cooperative communities. So I was drawn to one. When I was 23 when I first visited. So I got to spend a little over 50 years, I'm a little out of my age. That in a society that didn't need rules. Not only didn't need rules, it was headed by a person who was as anti-rule as I've ever met anybody in my life, was Swami Kriyananda. He was determined not to have things institutionalized, not to have things rigid, formal. And he would respond, I don't know, he's talked about it all the time. If you listen to his talks on YouTube and things, you can hear him talking about these things. But it would also just happen, just spontaneous. And now I remember one time I had the role in the early years, we had a monastery, and Swami asked me to be in charge of the monks. So part of being in charge of the monks is that I get everybody out twice a day and we would energize together. You know, and it was twice a day, it was every day. And so it was a little hard to keep the devotional focus on it and stuff. And I got to starting to do them a little faster. And word got out to some other people in the community, and they started to, the monks are not doing it right. They're not energizing correctly, they're not taking enough time to really focus on all the different movements and stuff. And so they got to Swami heard the little things going around. And so he said, okay, I'm going to come down and I'll show the monks how to energize. And this is his chance to really put us in our place and say, no, this is the way Mountain Pod would do it exactly this way. What he did, he never said anything about it, he just did it and he left. He came out, we were all sitting there ready to energize, and he comes up and says, hey, ready? Inhale. Angle. And he did it so fast, I couldn't keep up with it. And I was the one that was being accused of being too bad. And it was interesting, it reminded me that, you know, on the deeper, he got the message across, I really did pay more attention to the deeper part, but he wasn't going to make it a rule. He wasn't going to say, this is what you have to do it this way, there's only one way to do it. And it's just an approach that worked with me. Because what it did is made me keep looking inside more and more deeply to try to figure out how do you do this? What does work? And I gradually realized that there's some things that work for me. And it's comfortable adjusting in that way. But it wasn't like everybody marching in place in one direction, everybody doing it the same way. And that was just one example. There are many, many other examples of how Ananda has grown, where there is that freedom. There's that freedom of personal exploration, as long as that inner sensitivity is being cultivated. If a person is not cultivating their sensitivity, just being rebellious, that doesn't work. It's not helpful at all. But if somebody's trying to develop that inner sensitivity, we want to encourage them. We want to encourage them to skid it, because it'll be their truth. It'll be their self-realization. I love the part of it. We call it self-realization. You know, when I have to fill out the tourist card, it says, what's your religion? And I always have to look down and no, not that one, and I'll write down underneath self-realization. But self-realization is, of course, master's journey. And what he was talking, again, emphasizing the whole idea of self, it's the inner self awakening, and to be able to do whatever it takes to do that. Now, it helps enormously to have guru guides, to have satsang, to see other people doing it. It'll be a little different. I'm going to be appreciative of that, but the core is going to be the same. The core is going to be there's some commonalities. Okay, so some people, I'll just do personal things. So there are things like there's an inner joy that is cultivated through this process. There are lightness in the eyes that just starts to happen. There is just a natural concern for broader and broader parts of the world to care for. Some Master talked about the reason he couldn't start World Brotherhood colonies back in the 40s was because families still were committed us for and no more, he called it, which in the West, that means the nuclear family. You know, they didn't take any responsibility for anybody else. But there's this thing of, I'm not this little need, I'm much more. I want to help. Wherever I see it, there's a need. I want to start to help there. I want to look for opportunities. So that's the goal of our whole, all of our practices and everything that we're doing is to awaken that inner awareness and inner sensitivity. It's something that is, if you don't work on it, it starts to get left. You can't stay the same. You're either working on it, you're developing it, and getting stronger and stronger sense of inner awareness, or you are losing it. You're losing that sensitivity. So in the West, sometimes it's called conscience. Here it would be called Dharma, grace, I'm not sure, but it's the same all over the world. So we want to make sure that all we have to do is our part, which is start to, whatever it is that helps you to awaken inwardly, do that as deeply and as sincerely as you can. We have the little ceremony we did at the beginning of the day, the purification ceremony. It's a wonderful activity to be part of. It's wonderful. Be sitting here in the minister's role, just one person after another, just everybody with that very sincere heart yearning to improve, to expand the consciousness, just to be able to support that. So we want to use it, work with each other that way. We want to be able to help each other, give each other the freedom to be unique, be a little idiosyncratic, which is fine. Again, living in the Nanda village for so many years, there are quite a number of characters there who, just are very unique people that have a little different way of doing things than other people. And the great joy of my realizing that it's okay to do that. That was specifically Swamiji's influence. He really set that tone that it's okay to be yourself. It's okay to be who you are. I remember there was a membership meeting early on. And this one woman came to apply for membership. And she had a very, we'll say, prickly personality. She easily alienated people. She's very sharp-tongued, a little outspoken, caused a lot of problems. And the membership committee was discussing this and saying, well, maybe she doesn't belong. Maybe she's too much of a troublemaker. And Swami heard of that. He wasn't at the meeting, but he heard about the discussion. And he called the group together, membership committee. He said, "You do not accept this woman, I'm leaving the community." and he said, yes, her personality is very difficult to deal with. You have to look deeper. Her soul is very receptive, very much attuned to what we're trying to do. And she will contribute to the community in that very unique way. And it's just like, wow. I never heard of anything like that before. But it was such a reassurance. And in my own experience, I know like there's 3 or 4 times over the years where I would come up to a point and I wonder if I really belong here. I can see the fit in so well. And then I would realize it doesn't make any difference. I just have to be myself. As soon as I just relax and just be myself, and I realized, of course, it's fine. I can be here. And do whatever is needed. So we have this opportunity here. We have a wonderful satsang growing here in Gurgaon. And I think it'll be a wonderful journey. It's interesting to me to watch because it's a different culture. And in the West, communities are essential. The consciousness there is strongly materialistic. Every time you turn on the TV, it's a materialistic message. You go to a movie, almost all the time, it's materialistic. Every place. So having a community of truth seekers is a huge boon. In India, it's different in India. Because in India, you have the remnants of a higher age that's still present here. There are things that is part of the Indian culture that obviously come from very advanced, very high consciousness from the previous yugas. And so you get in a taxi, and there on the dashboard is a little altar. You would never see that in the United States. It's just like mind-boggling. Or just throughout, just throughout the culture, these little scatterings of things to remind people about the divine, remind people about spirituality. So it'll be interesting to see how the role of communities is here in India. Also, of course, there's still much closer ties to family here in India than there are in the United States, in the West. Most people in the United States move, I think I forget what it is, 10 times in their life, different places. There's not the, of course, we're not kind of that way too. nobody was born here, right? And maybe you were born. Were you born there? No, not even you. So everybody's in transit here. So I don't know. I just something. Do we have time for art? Yes. Thumbs up.
Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram
Again. Bring out consciousness, lead on. Ever deeper into our inner self. Now harmonize the outer options with that inner essence. To be with you and with you. That three rooms. Spiritual.